Hello, everybody. Well, we are on day 4. Let me just get the screen ready. Yeah, let's get started. So again, welcome back to the 5-day challenge. As I said, it is day 4, and today we're going to be looking at our competitors. Who else is doing what we're doing or doing what we would like to do? How are they servicing our potential customers? What is it that they're doing? Who else has got a similar business proposition to ours? All of these questions are very important when you are thinking about starting a business and going out there. So it's good to be mindful that within the environment, you remember the micro that we spoke about, we look into this. And today's model is, well, I could define it as very cool because it's a very nice approach that helps you develop that strategic thinking as well. Put it this way, we're going to be looking at competitors, and at the same time, we're going to be looking at the factors, the industry, the market, potential market for you. You're going to learn how to determine the factors the industry is competing on, and at the same time, as I said, developing that strategic thinking and seeing how you can develop a competitive advantage or a differentiation that's key and that puts you ahead of them, or certainly, as I say, makes you completely different and even making the competition irrelevant. So today's topic is, as I said, really cool and interesting. So I really hope you enjoy it. And now I'm going to go and share my screen. One sec. Okay, here we go, and here we are. Okay. Great. So always like to show the program for the week. We started with the purpose, went down to the environment, looked at, well, environment, we looked at the macro, micro, and then asked some questions about the internal when we were looking especially at customers. That was yesterday. And today's competitors. So as I said, who's already satisfying your potential customers' pains? Who's got a similar business proposition to yours? And how are they doing it? What is it that the industry is competing on? What are the main factors? How can we be different? How can you be different? Because as you're launching or thinking about developing something, starting something, it's good to keep an eye out there and see how is it that you're going to be competing. Because think about it, you may be thinking in your mind that your idea is great, people are going to love it just because you love it. And when you go out there, you realize, wow, 1,000 people are doing the same. They are better than you. They're more competitive. So what's next? What we're going to try and do is bring ourselves ahead of the game, if you like, and start considering some other things that don't guarantee success, but it's a good tool to have in your toolbox when you're looking into the market. So let's get started. And for some reason, well, I know the reason, but I thought I would pick an industry that I'm not going to say that we can all relate to, but certainly that we can understand and are aware of. And this one is the wine industry, okay? And as I said, we're going to start looking at the competitive factors. And by the way, this information I gather from a book that I highly recommend when it comes to marketing, when it comes to looking at the market, becoming different, leaving the competition, making it irrelevant, the Blue Ocean Strategy. And there is a new edition, there's a new book called the Blue Ocean Shift. Highly recommended if you're thinking and if you're serious about all of this. And what I did, I just picked a case study, a successful one, of course, to illustrate what we're going to be discussing and what I'm showing you. So I said the wine industry, and this one goes back to the 90s, okay? And you can see that there is the premium wines and then the budget wines, and that's all there was at that point. And if you look at the bottom, you're going to see there's the low, or obviously the price, the image, high-end marketing, aging quality, vineyard prestige, wine complexity, wine range. Those were the competing factors at that point, and you can clearly see there's the people that are being positioned at the high level, and then sort of the budget, which is the low cost. And that is a good way to start looking at the market. So you can see who is it that I'm competing against, how are they positioning. You remember when we spoke about positioning yourself, how do they position themselves? As high quality, high price, low quality or lower quality, budget, lower cost. And that tends to be usually the case. And what we're going to be looking at today is how can we combine the two in a way and get the best out of both worlds. And I'll show you a bit more. And we're going to achieve this by something that's called the 4 actions model or framework, which are the following. And basically these are, as obviously it states on the slide, to challenge an industry's strategic logic, okay? So you saw that the wines were at the top, the premium wines, and then the budget wines at the bottom, and that's it. So what I'm about to show you is what this business did in order to become, well, basically to create a new value curve, which is what I'm showing you there. And the key was, and something I would encourage you to do, and it's worked for me, and now it's even working for another business that I'm setting up, it's just these 4 elements, which are raise, create, reduce, and eliminate. So you look at the current competition, what is it that they're doing, and start thinking, okay, and that's the beauty of this strategic thinking that you will be developing. So what could I raise that compared to what the industry standard is? What can be eliminated? What can be reduced? What can be created? And by asking yourself these questions, you're going to be looking at potential and possible opportunities to start satisfying customers differently, okay? And break that standard that's leading the market at that point. So these are the 4 questions. And as you can see, rise, which factors should be rise well above the industry standard? Create, which factors should be created and the industry has never offered? Think about it, okay? Very interesting concepts. Be radical for some, and I agree. And that's not to say that you may find all of this in your industry, but hey, what's the harm in asking yourself these questions and start looking at things differently, okay? Then reduce, which factors should be reduced below the industry standard, and which factors should be completely eliminated because they are irrelevant. Actually, customers don't really care that much about that or about them, and they could live without them. And when you start eliminating and reducing, you'll see that's the whole point. You can start reducing the cost, and what you're raising and creating, you can offer more value. And what you come up with is something that I'm going to show you on, well, this is, okay, I went a bit ahead. These were, going back to the case study, that was the industry curve. These are the 4 elements that this business started looking at, analyzing in order to become more competitive in that industry and succeed. And the real life example, which I'm sure you know, is the yellowtail that got introduced in the market heavily and very aggressively. I think it was around the 2000s, mid 2000. And this is what they did. As I said to you before, the 4 actions framework, they eliminated, remember the curve that I was showing you initially, eliminate, reduce, raise, and create. So they eliminated all the ecological terminology and distinctions. Above the line marketing, it wasn't needed. Aging qualities, take that all out. Then raise, price versus budget wines. So you position yourself slightly above the budget wines, but still way below, and I'll show you on the next slide, because it's getting exciting, way below the premium ones. Then reduce the vineyard, prestige, and legacy, wine complexity, wine range. Let's make it easier. And then you create easy drinking, easy of selection, including retail store support. And then the fun, well, I think obviously fund is the fun and adventure. Okay, so I just take off that D in there. You certainly need some funding, but that was supposed to be fun and adventure. Actually, just spotted that one there. So that's what they did. And you might be thinking, okay, Jose, but what is the logic behind it? Fine, they did all of that. And by the way, this is not a process that just happened overnight, okay? There's loads of analysis and studies and implementation behind this, okay? But again, what I'm showing you here is a model that can work if you start developing that strategic thinking, which is crucial and will give you flexibility when you're competing in today's market, which, as you know, is very competitive and aggressive. And one thing they did, which is still a bit of a radical concept, they started looking at non-customers. And I'll drink a bit of water before I explain a bit further. What do I mean by non-customers? Well, they adapted the offering to people that were drinking beer and that wouldn't actually buy wines because of that complexity. It was hard to understand. People drinking beer, obviously things have changed as well, but generally you don't really look at all the details. Although saying that, nowadays you tend to do a bit more, but it wasn't as complex as the wine back in the days. And they also looked, and when I say non-customers, people not consuming wine, but that were consuming alcoholic drinks. Let me just take this out of the way. An email coming in. Consuming alcoholic drinks. So they looked at non-customers, people that weren't in the wine industry, as customers, and started analyzing, okay, how can we get into them? And that's when the 4 elements, the 4 action framework worked so well, because as I said, and as you can see here, they just started changing what the standards were and adapting them and expanding them, making them more accessible, if you like, to a wider audience. And by doing this, they got to this new value curve, and ta-da, which is the Yellowtail value curve. If you want to find more information about this, there's plenty online as well. As you know, Google has got loads. And it's the Castella Wine case study, or the Yellowtail from the Blue Ocean Strategy. As you can see, you've got the premium wines, okay? You see the top line, then fine budget wines, but actually look at what Yellowtail, the brand, did. You can see the price went slightly higher, but way below premium wines, then way below, okay, speaking about costing and everything, way below even the budget wines, and then up to the premium wines by generating new things like the easy drinking, ease of selection, and the fun and adventure. So you can see they restructured the market in a way, expanded the market, and if you look at that, it made the competition irrelevant, because they are not competing anymore directly in the same way with premium wines or budget wines. And how cool is that? And as I was coming home today, I was thinking, what else is, I just thinking about any other example that I could give you. And I came up with another one, which is related to the, drinking industry. This one hasn't got any alcohol. And it's a business that I like a lot. And I think I've spoken before about them. And these are Innocent, the smoothies, the natural juices, beverage. So I thought, okay, how can I apply this model to them? And I just quickly did it in my mind, see whether I could pick what was, what had been raised, created, reduced, eliminated. And let me see if I remember. For example, think about when Innocent got introduced in the market, these juice bars were starting as well. So they were introducing this new niche, if you like, or product for that audience looking to drink healthier or eat healthier. Okay, it was competing directly in a way to just the sugar drinks that we all tend to drink or have drunk in the past. So they were competing in that niche. And I'm not going to go into the details on how they thought about the idea and everything else. We can speak about that at any other time. So they started competing with them. And they also were competing with the sugar drinks, or, drinks that said they were fruits but had loads of, what do you call those, preservatives and other chemicals. So that's where they were competing. So if I think about what did they raise, I could compare in that curve again what did they raise compared to the new juice bars? And they raised the availability of the product, because at that point there were loads of queues for people. This is how, obviously, how they were telling the story as well. Loads of queues to actually go and buy a juice, a healthy drink. And being in today's world, when people, especially during the week, were rushing everywhere, so that was a bit of a setback. So they came up with the idea, and then they raised availability by having them in supermarkets, so it was just easy just to grab and drink. They certainly created a brand new product that had nothing to do really with the ones you were buying at the juice bars, or the ones that you were finding in supermarkets at that point, which weren't as healthy. Then they reduced, compared to the products that were in supermarkets, they reduced the amount of preservatives in those and the chemicals. And thinking about what is it that they eliminated, let me see if I can remember just what did they eliminate. Well, I cannot remember that at the moment. I should have written it down. It was just, I wanted just to bring another example to life, and the same way you can do with any industry really, or your sector, or the environment, the market, what you would like to venture on. So this is a very good tool to analyze the competition, okay? And at the same time, you're thinking about ways in which you can become different as well, because it's fine to look at the competition, but it's even better if you look at the competition and are already thinking, okay, how could I be different? And by asking you or yourself these questions, you can start coming up with answers and good ideas. And as I said, I've done it for my coaching business, and it's allowing me to find gaps and become different in certain areas. And at the same time, as I've said, during this 5-day challenge, also exploring ways in which we can touch with those emotions, because in the end, people buy off people. So this is the example. That's the final result. As I said, you can find plenty of information online. Highly recommend rereading this book. The Blue Ocean Shift as well is really good. You can also download or buy the audiobooks. They are also available as audiobooks. And that is me done with competition. The people, the companies, the businesses that are doing the same that we want to do, or the same that we're doing, or very similar, and very similar business propositions. So it's good to analyze how is it that they're doing it, and how can we be different by asking ourselves, what can I create, what can I eliminate, what can I reduce, or what can I raise? And I hope that you found this useful. And as usual, if you have any questions, let me just stop sharing the screen. If you have any questions, if there's anything you would like to find out more about, feel free to text me, drop me a line here. You can fire me an email, post on the group, just let me know, and I'll be more than happy to support you. This is a very useful tool, and honestly, not many people use it. Again, it's not something that's going to happen overnight, but it will take you to a good place as you start applying it and as you start developing that strategic thinking, which is crucial if you're running a business. Thank you so much again, and tomorrow, get ready for day 5. We're going to be wrapping it all up and come up with a strategy to move forward. So stay tuned, and thank you so much for joining me. I was going to say joining me on this journey. Yeah, thank you so much for staying tuned. Thank you, and have a great evening. Bye-bye. Now let's just come out of here. See you later.